Hello everyone, and welcome back to Jikook Lovers. Have you ever felt unsettled by a moment that appeared only briefly? Not because it was dramatic, but because it was too honest? In Are You Sure? There was a short conversation between Jimin and Jungkook. Quiet, still, almost without emotional overflow. And yet, that was exactly where its weight lived. One sentence about wanting to spend time together. One confession about going through a difficult period. And then, the moment disappeared. Not partially edited, not shortened, but completely removed. Today, we're talking about a moment that was never aired, yet somehow left the deepest impression, and why that silence ended up speaking louder than anything the cameras ever showed. There's one scene in Are You Sure? That appeared almost without warning, and because of that, became one of the most unsettling and unforgettable parts of the entire series. A brief clip, first revealed in the teaser for episodes 3 and 4. At first glance, it seemed simple, almost insignificant, but it carried enough weight to suggest that something meaningful was about to be revealed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. There was no exaggerated laughter, no casual joking. Instead, there was calm, a silence filled with meaning. Jimin and Jungkook sat together, speaking without urgency. From the very beginning, it was clear this wasn't empty conversation. There was a seriousness rarely shown on camera. When Jimin said, "Honestly, I really want to drink here with you," it didn't sound like a casual suggestion. It felt intentional. And when Jungkook replied, "And I've been going through a hard time, so I lean on you," the emotional weight of that exchange became impossible to ignore. It wasn't a reflex. It wasn't filler. It wasn't something said without thought. It was a confession of struggle, vulnerability, and the need for support, delivered with a quiet honesty that made it even more powerful. After the teaser was released, many waited for the full conversation, not out of simple curiosity, but because that brief moment promised context, depth, and an unfiltered glimpse into a complicated period of their lives. It felt like the teaser opened a space to pause, to speak without masks, to say the things usually left unsaid. But when the full episode finally aired, the conversation was gone. The location was the same. The timing felt right, but the emotional core had vanished entirely. The topic was never revisited. There was no continuation, no echo, not even a vague reference. And when something like this disappears, it doesn't mean it never happened. It means it was deliberately removed. That's where the discomfort begins. Because what was removed wasn't an ordinary scene. It was a moment that was clearly fragile and meaningful. Decisions like that aren't made casually. There is intention. There is consideration. And from there, the unavoidable question arises, why? If the conversation was too personal, too sensitive, or too honest, then why include it in the teaser at all? That clip wasn't random. It was carefully edited, subtitled, and positioned as promotional material. A decision was made to show it, and then another decision was made to erase it. That contradiction is what keeps the unease alive. This isn't about chasing drama or forcing hidden meanings. It's about acknowledging the real weight of words that were genuinely spoken, talking about hardship and leaning on someone, especially within the context of military service. It's not trivial. It's human. It's honest. And it's deep. Perhaps that's exactly why the moment felt too much. Because the most real things are often the hardest to control in tightly curated formats. Even though the conversation was never aired again, it didn't disappear. It lives on, in the memories of those who saw it, in the unanswered questions, and in the lingering feeling that something important was intentionally protected. As we watch Are You Sure? In full, that unease only grows stronger. Throughout the program, there are repeated patterns: intimacy, then diversion; closeness, then a sudden cut, especially when Jimin and Jungkook are together. Very close, very quiet, as if sharing something beyond words, only for the scene to abruptly shift elsewhere. The transitions aren't always smooth. Sometimes they feel sudden, even awkward, like a conversation cut off before it could finish. And this isn't a one-time occurrence. The pattern repeats across multiple episodes. Intimacy, then redirection. Even in behind-the-scenes footage, where everything should feel most natural, certain moments are still withheld. Something always seems to hang in the air. This isn't entirely new. Season 1 showed similar tendencies. But this time, it feels clearer, more intense. And because of that, the teaser conversation stands out even more. This isn't speculation. We heard their voices. We heard their words. And it's clear this wasn't an ordinary exchange. Both of them spoke from a place of honesty and vulnerability. About enduring. About leaning on someone. About not facing difficult times alone. The way Jungkook admitted he was struggling was gentle. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. He said it like someone who truly trusted the person beside him. And there was equal meaning in how Jimin expressed his desire to share that moment. Quiet, sincere, without needing explanation. The words were simple, and precisely because of that, they carried immense weight. Of course, many would say, this was just a normal conversation between two people who are very close. And that's true. No label is needed to acknowledge that kind of closeness. But the question remains, and refuses to disappear. If it was so normal, why remove it entirely? That's where the silence begins to speak louder than words. Because erasing the conversation didn't lessen its value. It didn't weaken its meaning. If anything, its absence made it stronger. There is something quietly, almost delicately, romantic about this. Not a loud romance, but one that exists in small confessions, quiet trust, and the willingness to be someone's place of support. Connections like that don't need grand declarations. Sometimes, one honest sentence at the right moment is more than enough. Perhaps that's why the conversation was ultimately removed. Because it was too honest. Too difficult to contain one scene. Because when emotional support runs that deep, it can't be reduced to something light. In the end, what happened to that conversation didn't erase it. It didn't invalidate it. It transformed it into one of the most meaningful moments, precisely because it was chosen to be protected. Because not everything is meant to be shown in full. But one thing remains clear. Between Jimin and Jungkook, there is a deep bond, built over time, strengthened through hardship, and guarded by a silence that doesn't need proof. And that certainty, even if only glimpsed briefly, cannot be ignored. Because sometimes, the strongest things aren't what we see completely, but what appears for a moment and stays in our hearts for a very long time.